Hello everybody and welcome to my motorcycle family again. Today we're going to have a motorcycle maintenance fix video, and today we're going to see how we can tighten a chain or maintain proper tension in a chain. Now, why is it important to tighten the chain or maintain proper tension in a chain is because, one, for the smooth functioning of the motorcycle and for a good power delivery to the back wheel. Second is to avoid any damage to the chain or the sprockets or the wheel bearings. And third is to avoid any accidents or mishaps on the way when you're traveling, whether it be inside the city or on the highway, or if you're on a long distance tour between states as well. Now I'm going to show you all how to tighten the chain on a Royal Enfield Classic model, which came with a different swing arm, and also I will explain how you can tighten a chain on the new Royal Enfields, which come with the normal common type swing arm now, with which you just have to tighten two nuts on the ends of the swing arm. Now this, what I'm going to explain to you all about the normal swing arm, will also apply to all other motorcycles as well, because most of the motorcycles come with the chain tightening nuts at the end of the swing arms. Okay, now if you see, I'll also show you all how to remove the silencer off. Behind this footrest is there's a nut here. It's a 17 number nut, so I just have to remove this nut off. I've already loosened it with a spanner. There's a nut and a washer to it, so I just remove them both. Okay, now I've got both the nut and the washer out, and then I pull this footrest out. Once I pulled it off, silencer comes loose. Pull the silencer off. There, I've got it. Keep this on the side, and there is the chain assembly and the chain, the hub. This is the axle and the axle nuts, and here if you see this plate here is the chain adjustment plate. There's another plate on the other side as well. Okay, so that with this we're gonna tighten the chain. Now, before you do any work on your motorcycle, it's very important to have some basic good tools. Okay, now what I'm using to tighten the chain today here are this spanner set. Okay, and I've got my ratchet spanner set here. Okay, and also also very important is just some rag cloth that you can wipe your hands with, or just clean your tools or whatever dirty part is there on the motorcycle. You can clean it before you start your work with. And it's very important to invest in some good tools, because tools are more like a lifetime investment. They will last for a long time if you maintain them really well. Okay, so now we're going to see how we can tighten the motorcycle chain. Now first we need to loosen three main nuts. Okay, so one is this axle nut, and behind that there's a bigger nut, which is a nut which keeps the chain adjustment plate in place. And then we have to open this nut, loosen it. This is the nut which keeps the hub in place. Okay, you see this big slot here at the bottom. Okay, so this is for the hub to move front and back, and this nut helps keep the hub in place. So now this main axle nut is a size 24 nut. The one behind it, the bigger nut, is a size 30 nut, and this nut is a size 19. Now all these numbers is 22, 13, 19, 12, 13, they're all nothing but millimeters, mm. So this is a 24 mm nut, this is a 30 mm nut, and this is a 19 mm nut. So first I'm just going to use my ratchet spanner set here. Okay, so I'm going to loosen out the 24 size nut first. So it's a little loose. I don't have to completely remove it out, just loosen it a bit there, and then I put the 30 mm plug. I loosen that out. Now anyway, what I'm going to do is I'll remove both these nuts out. Okay, I'm going to remove both these nuts out and show you the chain adjustment plate. So I've removed both the nuts out. Now I'm going to remove this plate out. Okay, so this is a chain adjustment plate. I'll just clean that up a bit. Okay, now if you see, you have these slots on the plate, and into these slots is where this pin here that is attached to the swing arm, that's a part of the swing arm, sits into these. So every time you have to tighten your chain, all you have to do is loosen these two axle nut and the big nut which keep this plate in place, and move it one notch up like that, and push that pin into the next slot, and do the same on the other side as well. It's the same plate that is there on the other side, so you have to push it into the next slot, and that tightens the chain, because the entire wheel and the hub assembly move back by probably half a millimeter or something like that. Okay, and it's important that you have these slots, so you have to see which slot that pin is sitting into, and the pin on both the sides have to sit into the exact same slot. So you have to count how many slots are there from the bottom, and make sure that both the pins on both the sides sit in the same slot. Why is that important? Is because that helps keep the axle straight, and when the axle is straight, the sprockets in the chain assembly here sit into the chain links in a proper way. If it's a little loose, say for example if this side the pin is in a different slot and on the other side the pin is in a different slot, the wheel sits in a little slant manner. So when that happens, your sprockets, when they move into the chain, your chain as well as your sprockets get damaged, because they rub against each other and they're not sitting properly in the proper slot. So now that we've removed this plate, and I've shown this plate to you all, okay, I'm going to put it back there. Okay, now it was here, you can see is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, it's at 9 actually. Okay, and now if you see, my chain is pretty loose. Okay, so I've got to tighten this. So since it's that loose, the pin is now sitting in 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, the ninth slot from the bottom. I'm going to move it to the 7th slot. Okay, so I'm going to leave that pin plate there, and I'm going to loosen this nut which holds the hub. So I'm going to loosen that now. You don't have to remove the entire nut out, just loosen it a little bit. Now that is done, I'm going to see which pin it is sitting in. It's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So move it, just shake the wheel a little bit and it moves up. Again, count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. It's sitting in the 8th slot now. I'm going to shake it again, and it's in the 7th slot now. Okay, so if you see now, my chain is pretty good. There's not much slack or movement in the chain, so that's pretty good. So it's in the 7th slot now. So since in the 7th slot, I'm going to first tighten this nut which holds the hub together, hub in place. Okay, so I'm going to tighten it. Don't over tighten it, because if you do that, you'll either damage the thread of the bolt or the thread of the nut, or you can even damage the head of this bolt that sits inside the this part of the hub, the brake assembly's in part. Okay, now that this is done, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this big 30 mm nut back, so that this nut will hold this plate in place. Okay, and then I'm going to quickly tighten it off. Even this nut, do not over tighten it too much, like don't put a pipe in and over tighten it, so that you don't damage the thread. Now we will look at the pin on the other side as well. Well, now we are on the other side. If you see this chain adjustment plate here that's on the other side, you will see that this is a little loose. Okay, so we had the pin on that side at the 7th slot from the bottom. So we're going to count the number of slots this side as well. It's 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. Just hold the wheel with one hand and then move to the other side, so that and then put the main axle nut back. Now we have checked both the pins, and both the pins are sitting in the same slot in both the plates, the chain adjustment plates. Now we can put the main axle nut back. Okay, now we have tightened both these nuts off, so the only nut that's left is the main axle nut. So we put it back, and then we tighten it. Even with this nut as well, remember not to over tighten it, because it's a pretty important nut. This nut is what sits on the axle, because if you over tighten it and if you damage the threads on the axle, and you're in a very difficult spot, because the axle will come loose and the whole wheel and chain and everything will shake. So just make sure that you don't over tighten any of these nuts. Just tighten it as much as you can. So that's the thing. So now let's check the chain. Check here, it's pretty okay. Okay, and this much play should be there in the chain, because right now there is no weight on the bike, and when I sit, my weight, and if I have a pillion, the pillion's weight, or if I have any luggage on the bike, the weight of the luggage and all will kind of slowly stretch the chain a little more. Okay, so this much play is required in the chain. Let's just turn the wheel once and check for any sounds. So there's no any sound coming from the chain, especially from the sprockets. If the sprocket is not sitting properly into these slots in the chain, you might hear some noises of it rubbing against the chain. So I don't hear any noises. I think it's in properly aligned, and it's moving smoothly, and there's enough play in the chain. So all I got to do now is fix the silencer back, and that's done. Also very important is, when you're tightening the chain, you need not loosen the brake nut here. Okay, only if you're removing the wheel off, then you have to loosen this brake nut here. Otherwise you need not do it, because you're just moving the wheel back just by 0.5 millimeter. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is just fix the silencer back. Okay, now before I put the silencer back, I need to show you all how to adjust the chain on a normal type swing arm. Okay, like on any other normal bike, because these swing arms come only on the Royal Enfield, old Royal Enfield, or the classic versions. The new Royal Enfields come with the normal type swing arm, which swing arm extends all the way till here, and then there's a plate here, and then you have a bolt like this which comes out of the swing arm. Okay, and this bolt is there on both the sides, and this bolt will be attached to a small little plate, again chain adjustment plate, but of a different kind, which is inside the swing arm. Okay, so it's just like a plate attached to the bolt, and it comes inside the swing arm like that. Okay, so the swing arm extends all the way till here over the bolt. Now for that, what you need to do is just there'll be only one axle nut, so they don't have this nut, or the 19 mm nut, or the 30 mm nut. Neither do they have this chain adjustment plate. So all you got to do is just open the main axle nut, and then here you have to just you can, since the bolt will be like this, okay, all you need to do is take a measuring scale, or take a measuring tape like this, and just check on the outside how much the nut is out, the bolt is out, sorry, the bolt is out like this. and make sure that as you tighten it, what happens is this nut pushes against the plate that's on the outside of the axle, and slowly it moves back. Okay, so you got to do that on both the sides. When you've done that, just make sure, measure with the tape and see how much of the bolt is out, and make sure that the same measurement is there on the other side of the wheel as well. You'll have these chain adjustment plates on both the sides of the wheel through which the axle goes. Okay, so both the measurements should be the same on both the sides, and then you can tighten the main axle nut. Now that is on a normal axle, and most motorcycles these days come with the normal axle. This is the old type swing arm with all this plate and the different nuts. So I hope you all understood that, and now I'm going to put the silencer back. So today we saw how to tighten the chain on a Royal Enfield Classic type model, and also we saw how we can tighten the chain on a normal type swing arm on a Royal Enfield or any other motorcycle. I hope you like this video. Do like it, subscribe, share, and if you have anything to ask or anything to add to whatever I said, do comment down in the comment section. Till then, be safe, wear your masks, maintain social distancing, because we are still in the middle of a pandemic. Keep yourselves and your families healthy and safe. So until next time, do take good care of yourselves. Bye bye.